Good afternoon and welcome to the South Shore Clean Cities NIRPC Green Fleet CNG Success Stories webinar. My name is Ryan Lissick. I'm the project manager for South Shore Clean Cities. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today, and I'd like to thank our speakers for allowing us to share their stories and successes. Just a reminder, all attendees are on listen-only mode, and today's webinar will be recorded and shared on the South Shore Clean Cities resources page on our website. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, please type them in that chat box in the panel on the side of your screen. If you have any questions for a specific speaker, please address them accordingly. We will be monitoring the questions throughout the webinar and will address them as we are able to do so. All right. For getting started here, I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. First, we're going to have Dave Westerveld from Ozinga Energy, where he is the Sales and Business Development Manager. And then we have Robert Fulton. He is the Assistant to the Mayor for the City of Hobart. Next, we have Adrian Vera. He is the Chief of Staff and Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Lake Station. And of course, I already introduced myself. I will be serving as the moderator for today. And once again, thank you all for participating in this webinar. We really appreciate it. To get us started here, give you a little bit of background on South Shore Clean Cities and the Green Fleet program here in Northern Indiana. South Shore Clean Cities is headquartered over in St. John, Indiana. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are designated as the 71st Clean Cities Coalition on June 15th, 1999. South Shore Clean Cities is one of the U.S. Department of Energy's nearly 100 clean cities coalitions across the country. In the last decade alone, South Shore Clean Cities members have reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 607,000 tons, and we have displaced over 93 million gasoline gallon equivalents. South Shore Clean Cities manages the Green Fleet program throughout Northern Indiana, serving members and stakeholders in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors by working with their fleet vehicles to reduce emissions and improve cost savings. South Shore Clean Cities works with and guides these fleets to help mitigate barriers preventing the adoption of alternative fuels and advanced technology vehicles while creating policies supporting petroleum and vehicle emission reductions. South Shore Clean Cities currently guides more than 150 member fleets on cost and emission savings associated with the operations and maintenance in their fleets. Some benefits of becoming a South Shore Clean Cities Green Fleet member include educational opportunities such as fuel and technology workshops, trainings, seminars, and like today's webinar. Recognition and certification for fleets taking steps to improve environmental performance and efficiencies, branding promotional tools to help fleets leverage earned certification statuses, informational resources including current technology options, market conditions, laws, and incentives, connections with vendors offering sustainable transportational options, funding assistance with grant opportunities and other state and federal incentive programs, and professional consultation, including a green fleet audit and emissions quantification. South Shore Clean Cities only assists with grant and funding opportunities, but we also help build relationships with our stakeholders. We are constantly looking at the big picture, not only for our fleets, but to make the biggest impact on our state in reducing our dependence on imported oil. If you're looking for ways to improve your fleet's performance or need assistance, please contact South Shore Clean Cities and we'll be happy to assist you. When it comes down to it all, the projects we do and all the successes you will hear about today rely on partnerships. By working together, we can reduce our dependence on imported oil and save taxpayer dollars. There are multiple funding opportunities available throughout the year. and we are always looking at what we can do to help further your fleet success. The best time to prepare for the grant application is before the request for proposals becomes available, and the Green Fleet program does just that. So sign up today. The best thing you can do to get involved with South Shore Clean Cities and start building those partnerships is getting grant ready with us today and contacting us. If you have any questions about the information provided or are interested in becoming a Northern Indiana Green Fleet member, please contact me anytime using contact information on your screen. And now we're getting into Mr. Dave Westerveld. Before I introduce Dave, I'd like to remind you to keep typing your questions into the box on your screen. We'll address those later in the webinar. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Dave Westerveld, who is the Sales and Business Development Manager for Ozinga Energy. Dave, go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate the opportunity to speak at this event today, and want to say thank you to South Shore Clean Cities, everybody over there, for all the great partnerships and all the great projects that we've been able to work together on over several years. I'd like to take just a moment for those who may not be familiar with Ozinga Energy and explain a little bit about our history, you know, the Ozinga story, if you will. If you wouldn't mind, next slide, please. Thank you very much. Ozinga was started in 1928. We are a fourth generation family-owned business. They started out, as you see here, in the as a coal company. That was one of their first trucks based out of Evergreen Park, Illinois. Good thing for all of us, they did not stay with just coal. Ozinga has adapted into several different businesses over the years. Coal to fuel oil, to building materials, to ready-mix concrete, to Ozinga Energy. Started out primarily as a CNG company. Now we are expanded into electric vehicle charging, renewable natural gas, and many more alternative fuels. Next slide, thank you. This is one of the very first stations we built. Back in 2011, we placed the order for our first CNG trucks. Up until that point, the fleet was exclusively running on diesel fuel, a little bit of biodiesel and things of that nature, but diesel fuel nonetheless. This was a bold move for Ozinga. They converted the entire fleet at key strategic locations to 100% CNG. Trucks were ordered and construction was started on stations. Stations went in 2012. Why CNG? You know, a company that's over 90 years old to switch off of diesel. Well, all of the alternative fuels were studied at that time. CNG, this is a molecular structure between a diesel molecule and a natural gas molecule. The key difference here is there's 14 carbon atoms in a diesel molecule and only one carbon atom in a methane molecule, which composes 95 or better % of the natural gas blend. This is very important to us because this is a much cleaner burning fuel. There's a lot less carbon footprint involved in this fuel. There's a lot less carbon and contaminations that go through the engine and also out the exhaust. Key benefits that we see with CNG. The biggest benefit is the emission reduction. The second big benefit to operating the fleet that we have is compressed natural gas is not a liquid. And anybody who is running liquid diesel fuel in the Midwest with the extreme cold temperatures has felt the pain of gelled up diesel fuel filters and gelled fuel and trucks that won't start or trucks that get out on the road and then die. On the coldest of coldest days, in our most extreme situations, the natural gas trucks quite often are the only trucks in our fleet that we're able to get out. I would encourage anybody who is listening who has experienced these, so please reach out to learn more about this. Street sweepers, snow plows, dump trucks, all kinds of vehicles that are critical to the function of cities and municipalities and businesses that are running on compressed natural gas are pretty much immune to all of the cold weather issues. A couple other things, because there's less carbon in the fuel, that translates to a much cleaner internal environment in the engine. When you drain the oil out of a compressed natural gas engine versus a diesel engine, the oil coming out of the CNG engine is just as clean looking as the oil that you're about to put in. It's not to say that the oil lasts forever, but because there's less debris, less contaminants floating in the oil, going through the engine, rubbing on your bearings, going through the whole system, your engine oil is as pure as it can be. It does, viscosity does break down over time and those things, but we have been able to extend oil change intervals and experience greater life out of that. And we've also seen less internal issues with the engines because the only thing flowing through them is oil, not an oil and carbon mixture. A couple other things, truck maintenance wise, CNG engines do not require the same exhaust after treatment systems that new diesel engines do. New diesel engines run on DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, the after treatment does, and there's a diesel particulate filter and other items in this new system. The system is very expensive to repair and maintain. The DEF fluid is extremely corrosive. It freezes, at not that low of a temperature. It's very similar to water. So DEF fluid has to be kept warm. You have to have DEF systems on the vehicle to handle vehicles that are parked outside and allowed to get below freezing. The fact that the natural gas engine doesn't have a diesel particulate filter and a DEF system means that a natural gas engine does not have to do any regens. Regenning is talking to the wide range of fleets that we know and do business with and customers of ours. Large fleets that run over the road, the regen is problematic, but it's not as problematic as the local fleets. The local fleets tend to not get up to exhaust temperature as quickly. They don't tend to sustain that ultra high exhaust temperature to where the regen can happen naturally as it was designed. And a lot of fleets have suffered the pain of having to deal with manual regens, all the runtime, all the additional maintenance involved. With CNG, that is all out the window. The only exhaust after treatment that there is a simple catalytic converter, which is tried and true and on pretty much every gasoline vehicle on the market today. So looking at thinking of the previous slide with that molecule of diesel fuel and that molecule of methane. Methane, or renewable natural gas, RNG as it's referred to, is a renewable form of natural gas. RNG is produced with several different what's called feedstocks. Feedstocks are primarily an organic matter that gets broken down and digested, for the truest sense of the word, and through that digestion and that decomposition, methane gas is created, along with CO2 and water and some other gases. That renewable natural gas, it's in this state, it's pretty much a raw biogas. It is sent to a production facility that basically scrubs it clean and purifies it and raises the BTU content to bring it up to pipeline quality gas. At that point, if you looked at the molecular structure of the renewable natural gas and the traditional brown gas that comes out of the wells in the earth, they are chemically and molecularly identical. This is not the same as diesel compared to biodiesel and things of that nature. This is the same exact gas, and it gets injected into the pipelines. At Ozinga, we're able to contract with renewable natural gas suppliers around the country and actually buy their gas through the pipeline. And we run renewable natural gas at all of our CNG stations. So every truck and every car and every vehicle that comes and fuels up at an Ozinga Energy site is receiving renewable natural gas, which is not collected from the earth. It's not through strategic reserves. This is processing waste products around the country, such as landfill gas, manures, wastewater treatment, compost, food waste, things of that nature. And that's actually what's powering our fleet. So our fleet is not relying on traditional fossil fuels. Taking a look at the history, the station builds, the decision to move into natural gas, I wanted to point out a lot of questions we get then turn to trucks. What are the engine options, and is there enough power? Is it readily available? Things of that nature. Cummins, through a partnership with Westport, they have developed these three engines. These are pretty much the workhorses of the CNG industry. The really cool thing to point out here is these engines were all taken originally as diesel engines. And Cummins and Westport, and now primarily Cummins, they have engineered this from the bottom up, starting with their tried and true diesel engines that are on the road every day, and have modified them and built the upper end to handle compressed natural gas and spark ignition. These engines come in a wide range of displacement, from the 6.7 liter to the 11.9 liter. As you can see, from 240 horsepower up to 400 horsepower. The really neat thing is these are classified as near zero engines. They are ultra low NOx engines, producing between 0.1 and 0.02 grams of NOx per horsepower, which, as you can see on the slide, represents a 90% reduction. These are the cleanest burning engines you can buy. So Ozinga, with the fleet that we've converted, and with refueling our trucks with renewable natural gas, every year we're displacing over 1 million gallons of diesel fuel. Diesel fuel that previously was crude oil that was pumped out of the ground and refined into diesel fuel. Now that's not an issue for us. And so not only is there the savings of our natural resources, we're utilizing waste products that we already have and need to deal with to produce this renewable natural gas. We are running engines that have ultra low NOx, and we are cleaning the atmosphere through reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. I will say there is one more added benefit to this, and the cost of the renewable natural gas and the price stability of this fuel source has been a substantial savings to the company as well. To take a look at the emission savings, this chart here shows the emissions that Ozinga would produce with that million gallons of fuel. The blue bar is what we were producing running diesel fuel, and the red bar is where we're at today. So we are seeing a 75% reduction in annual well-to-wheels greenhouse gas 100 emissions. There's a whole complicated formula for how you get to that through well-to-wheels, but the fact of the matter is what's coming out of the tailpipe is cleaner, and because it's renewable natural gas, that even drives our reduction even lower. And I would like to point out, that running renewable natural gas in transportation is the most carbon negative fuel option that is available. Price comparison, it's worth pointing out that these numbers are broken down into a standard unit of measure. These numbers are based on an MMBTU, which analyzes the amount of energy in a gallon of diesel fuel versus the amount of energy in a gallon equivalent of natural gas. This chart shows, this is based on historical data and based on production and markets going forward. This shows the bottom line is the current price and projected outlook on natural gas in the United States. The blue line is the projected diesel fuel equivalent for that same amount of energy. And the reason it's done this way is because natural gas is a gas. It's not a liquid. We can't pour it into a jug and measure out 1 gallon and compare a gallon to a gallon. It takes a larger volume of natural gas, because it's a compressed gas in a cylinder, to equal the same amount of diesel fuel. So this is a way to compare the amount of energy, because energy is actually what it takes to turn the engine, create the horsepower, and drive the vehicle. One other thing that's not represented in these graphs is any incentives. There is the alternative fuel tax credit that has been renewed year after year. That has is currently in effect through the end of this year, and there's legislation being brought to renew that again. That tax credit equates to 50 cents per gallon produced as a federal tax credit. Businesses, municipalities, cities are all entitled to collect this credit. This credit is substantial because that actually takes 50 cents off of your bottom line of your cost to produce your own fuel. And I would also, say that 50 cents credit, fleets that enter into fuel agreements, and I won't speak for just Ozinga, I'll speak for the industry as a whole, that typically a portion of it, if not all of it, can be made available to the end user. So any fleets out there that are listening and looking for a place to fuel, don't automatically have to forego that 50-cent tax credit. That can be shared with the end user. So the final piece, we've looked at the engines, the trucks. I just want to put the slide up here to show that delivering ready mix concrete, our trucks, the trucks down in the bottom, those tend to run in the city. Those are more street bound trucks. The trucks on the top, those are what we find more in Indiana and out in the suburbs. Those are the off-road trucks. Those are all-wheel drive, heavy-duty trucks that are designed to go on the job sites, through the mud, all the way up to the fenders. These trucks come equipped from the OEM with a natural gas engine option, one of those engines that we looked at on the previous slides. These trucks, a substantial portion of our fleet has been in service since, they were ordered in 2011 and put in service in 2012. Those are still on the road today delivering concrete, and it's a very harsh environment. Our trucks, through the off-road, the twisting of the frames, the driving up and down hills, through construction sites, through the mud, having to pull each other out when they get stuck. These trucks have really stood the test of time. This is a very reliable and proven alternative fuel source for us, and has been a really good drop-in replacement to the diesel fuel that we've been running. When it comes to station construction, these are some pictures of actually the Hobart station during its construction stage. I want to point this out. You can see on the right-hand side, there's the parking spots and the fueling posts all assembled, and this is ready for trucks to pull in. On the far left, you see the compression equipment getting set up. And I want to point this out because there's a lot of misinformation about fueling stations. I hear it all the time that I can't do CNG because I don't have $1.5 to $2 million to build a station, and I don't have room for it. There's nowhere to put it. All of these reasons. The point to this is CNG stations can be easily customized, and there is no one size fits all. So we work with fleets, customers, municipalities to understand what their needs are, what's going to work for them, and to design and size equipment specifically. So please, any of the fears about what it would take to go with CNG, there are a lot more solutions than there are hurdles. This is one of our portable stations. So we've got situations that come up from time to time operating a big fleet that we have and over several states and multiple locations. We have a CNG street sweeper that we wanted to deploy in a location that had no CNG. So there's the street sweeper on the right, and on the left is the portable CNG station. Now the cool thing to point out is we had to get natural gas brought in from the utility, which wasn't a big deal, and we had to have power extended from the building to power this up. Once those two items were accomplished, we loaded this portable compressor. That's a 8-foot long or 8-foot wide, 20-foot long container, and it has 6 CNG fueling hoses, 3 on each side. We were able to drop this on location, and within 4 hours, it was connected and filling the vehicle. It has cellular connectivity and is remotely monitored. It sends out an email if there's any issues, and if we need to redeploy that street sweeper to another location, all we need to do is set up the gas meter and an electric drop and call a truck to move it. This is a much larger station. This is more of a fast fill and slow fill station. This fuels 45 trucks. It's got 2 large high horsepower compressors because it needs to do thousands of gallons a night, not tens or hundreds of gallons. This is a station that has 100% redundancy. This is more for the larger fleets, but I wanted just to show it for comparison's sake. And with that, I would also say, if there are any questions, please, my contact information is here at the bottom. My name is Dave Westerveld, Sales and Business Development Manager at Ozinga Energy. There's our website, our company phone, and my personal email. So please, any questions, I would love to answer them. I'd come out, take a look at the site, talk to anybody about anything. Thank you very much for your time.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Dave. That was a great presentation, and thanks for giving us a little more background on Ozinga Energy and Ozinga Ready Mix and the incorporation of CNG to your fleet. Next up, we're going to get into the roundtable discussion, and we're going to welcome Mr. Robert Fulton with the City of Hobart and Mr. Adrian Vera with the City of Lake Station. How's it going, gentlemen? Go ahead and unmute yourselves if you haven't already.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, good afternoon.
All right, good. We hear you. So, Bob, we're going to get you going here. How did the City of Hobart first get involved with CNG?
Well, it kind of was an organic development from our efforts at first with recycling. We became involved in recycling. We made a commitment to increase our amount of garbage that we recycle in an effort to eliminate, trips to the, to landfills and put things back into them. And we kind of found out that there's a real desire for the people in our city to be involved in making the world a greener place. And that kind of kicked us off into trying to figure out where we could go next. And with the help of South Shores Clean Cities, they said, well, there's lots of opportunities to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by looking at your vehicles. And I think we started out first with you guys with probably low sulfur diesel And moving from there, the next logical step was into compressed natural gas. And at every step of the way, you guys were there to help and advise us and get us moving forward. And I think one of the things that's been a great benefit for the city is it has sparked kind of an interest in that this city has taken a lot of interest in going green in a lot of other ways. And I think it's an important statement for us, is that we are committed to improving the quality of life in Northwest Indiana. We don't want to be continued to be thought of as this, land of smokestacks and foul air. And I think it's incumbent upon us, the people that live here, to take that step forward.
Absolutely. Certainly transition from the friendly city to the environmentally friendly city over there in Hobart.
We hope so.
And going to your neighbor to the north, Adrian, I'll ask you the same question for you. How did the city of Lake Station get involved with CNG?
All right. Well, gosh, I would say we got started because of South Shore Clean Cities. And it all started with just attending a few of the events that you guys were having. The first thing we had got word of, you guys were having a CNG, event over in South Bend a couple years ago. And I attended that along with the mayor at the time, and we were blown away at everything we learned and, came out of that event with. We got to discuss a lot of what was going on with the city of South Bend over there. We actually got a tour of their fleet. They got a pretty big fleet over there of CNG vehicles. And that's pretty much where it all started with us. We just started with going attending some of these webinars and some events that you guys had, and we got hooked in from that point on.
So currently you have two CNG vehicles that were recently delivered, correct?
Yes.
So two refuse trucks that are model year 2021. So that's a huge deal and a huge win for 2020. The next question is going to be back to Bob. Can you talk a little bit more about the process of the construction of the CNG station at the Public Works facility?
Yeah. Primarily, one of the things we found out is after we went to CNG trucks, we're having, if it was a diesel truck, we would take it across to our fueling station. We didn't have that for CNG. We had to take it to the commercially available fueling stations for compressed natural gas. Thank you, Ozinga. But it was still basically a 25-mile round trip, and it was with refuge trucks. So when the guys would go out, they would get in their route, see that they had low fuel, have to pull off their route, have to go out, drive off to the station, fuel up, turn around and drive back. Well, you can see right there that in the peak time of your day, when you should be out doing your job, you're having to go off and fuel. So we realized that wasn't the best and most efficient solution. And we were made aware of a grant through the Indiana Department of Environmental Management again. And they're not paying me to say this. South Shore Clean Cities came to us and said, Bob, we can find you a grant to help build a station. So we started looking at it. We started looking at the economics of it. We realized that compressed natural gas in those trucks was saving us a ton of money over diesel fuel. We also realized that, this is a capitalist economy, and we're pretty sure if it's saving us money, the people selling us the fuel are also making money on it. And we figured, why not save that money for ourselves? So we explored getting the grant and building our own fueling station. And we sized it, we could have built the station small and just for what we had in current use, but we had a vision of having a bigger fleet. So we use that to put in a fleet, and there's some hurdles. If you're going to build your own station, I will tell you first and foremost, make sure you got a good supply of natural gas close by. You'll have to make sure you've got a feed of gas coming in to build the station. And once you do, dropping the compressors and getting all of that is just a matter of finding the funding to get it going. And once you do that, we are, I hate to tell you how much money we're saving over fueling our vehicles versus diesel. It has been a huge savings for our city, and in a day and age when you're counting every penny, those are nice pennies to be able to put back in your pocket. So we got the grant, we built the station, we've been running it. The nice thing is these are ones we hook up our trucks at night when the guys go home. They come in the morning, and we never have to stop and fuel. Usually they have enough fuel in that overnight fill to get through an entire day and not have to do it again. So we've gained back all that time we've lost. We've saved all those dollars, and we've got a piece of infrastructure that will continue to serve this city for a long time.
Absolutely. And Dave, this question is for you. Now, they have a very unique station there, and it's a combo station of a time and a fast fill. Why is that important to a variety of different fleets?
So, yes, that's a hybrid style station, I would call it. Traditionally, there's time fill or there's fast fill. When people think of fast fill, usually they think of pulling into a regular truck stop or a gasoline station, big fancy dispenser that you swipe a credit card and it prints you a receipt, and that kind of a thing. Well, that's about the most expensive way to build a station and to fuel vehicles, because you need to produce a whole lot of gas in a hurry, and the equipment that you have to size is much, much larger. So Hobart, their station design is, some of the things that they needed to accomplish was they wanted to take advantage of that time fill. The time fill meaning that the trucks are going to be parked for 8, 9, 10 hours overnight and in one spot. That's a perfect time to fuel. It's the slow and steady wins the race kind of a way of thinking. So they're able to utilize much smaller equipment, which saved them, just tons of money on not needing to bring in this monster gas pipe to feed a big giant sized compressor. And then they were able to take advantage of smaller equipment because they didn't need to make all of their fuel in an hour. They have all night to make it. Now, when there's snow events and things of that nature, that being, the most upcoming thing I can think of that would cause the fleet to be running longer than it normally does. And those one-offs, you can't afford to build a station that's limited to where you get the snowstorm of the century and all of a sudden you're out of fuel and you got to tell the residents we're not continuing to plow till 10 hours of refueling has happened. This station was built with a certain amount of storage built into it that's ready and available right now. And there's a dedicated fueling point where during those one-off situations, vehicles can pull right in, hook up, and they can get refueled in a matter of minutes and get back on about their day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's worked well for us because, in those instances, the one thing about a slow fill is you get a more complete fill. You don't have the issues of back pressure. So our trucks can go out with the maximum amount of miles on them when they go out in the morning. If we do run into situations where we, are driving more than we anticipated, we do have the ability to come in and fuel quickly and put some fuel in. The other thing it allows us an opportunity to do, and Adrian and I were talking about this prior to our meeting, we also have the ability to offer the service of fueling to other other communities or other entities. So now something that was a service, a net zero for the city into a profit center. So certainly we have that ability available to us, which is something, that in the municipal business, you have very few opportunities to generate cash flow other than, twice a year you get a tax. This having something that can generate a positive cash flow for a municipality is a great benefit to us.
Absolutely. The next question is going to be for Adrian. And Adrian, what were some of the barriers when getting started with CNG in relation to the department heads and coming to the end process of wanting to implement CNG into your refuse and recycling and compost collection?
Well, I guess some of those barriers would be just misinformed and uneducated department heads who didn't have enough knowledge of CNG and how it worked and all the benefits of it and everything involved with it. So had some of that happen at first, lots of questions and all that kind of things. And what we did was we just we took the department heads to events that South Shore Clean Cities was having, where they could learn at these events and hear from you guys, just as this webinar we're having right now. I started bringing them to events, and where they even got to hear from all you guys. Some of them even spoke with Bob. We went over to Hobart, I believe, one time also. So just, I just try to get them educated as much as I can. And the more they learn, the less resistance you get from them, because once they see all the benefits of going to CNG, I mean, it's a game changer, and the guys get on board at that point. I mean, yeah, we are very excited, and we're just getting in the game with CNG. We hope to add to our fleet little by little. We're loving the 2 trucks that we have so far. We've been to Hobart's, actually. We've been to Hobart, and I even brought some of my mechanics over to Hobart to speak with their mechanics, just so they can mingle and get all the information firsthand from the Hobart mechanics who have been working on these vehicles already. So that was a big help with with getting through barriers also.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the biggest impacts that being a part of the Green Fleet program can be, is you have those relationships. You can build upon other people's successes. You're not the guinea pigs of implementing a new fuel. So when you have different fleets across the state of Indiana and you have the experts in your own backyard, especially when you see the other towns' trucks going down the street and they're running on CNG, it makes it more able to be willing to transition to something and say, if they can do it, we can do it. Next one.
I'm going to say, one of the things about it, you're talking about biggest barriers. You go to your mechanics, you go to the guys that have been doing this for 10, 20 years, and you go, hey, guess what, guys? You're going to have to learn something brand new, and won't that be fun? And a lot of times the answer is no. And you need to be prepared that you are going to have to go out and motivate these people to become part of something new. And I say, why is it so important? The guy that's supposed to be here is not me. The guy that's supposed to be here is a guy named John Van Vliet, who is our head mechanic. And John was one of those guys that was like, oh, gee, thanks. I got to learn something brand new. And I'm going to tell you right now, he did. We kept encouraging him and working with him. And now there is no better salesman for CNG in municipal use than John Van. This is a guy that has really caught the vision. And it was because somebody was willing to to invest in their employees, saying you can learn something new. And I think that's another great opportunity that's come out of this, is we have improved the skills of our workforce. They are now leaders. They are now people that other people go to for questions. And you know, seeing that kind of energy in a municipal staff is just, you know, it lifts everybody up. You know, and that's a great thing for us.
Absolutely. It's a triple win across the board.
Mhm.
Now, Bob, can you go into a little bit more detail about owning and operating your own station, and then the maintenance facility that's associated with it?
Yeah. One of the first pieces of equipment we got that was CNG was our VACCon truck. It's a combination vacuum sewer cleaning truck. Got a large water tank on it. One of the challenges you're going to have with CNG is a maintenance facility. You can't just do it in any old regular garage that's got heaters in it that have an open flame. So we were kind of challenged. All right, we had the truck, we were maintaining it, we had to leave it outside at night. Well, you can't put water in a vehicle and leave it outside at night. So it kind of limited. So we were trying to figure out ways to use it all the time. Well, when we built the station, the fueling station, we also started saying, hey, how do we build a garage that's compliant with CNG standards? And we needed a new maintenance facility for our public works yard anyway. So we sat down and worked the entire problem. And, you know, again, I'll tell anybody contemplating this, work it as a system. You need to sit down and look at all aspects of your fleet operation. You know, not only acquiring the vehicles, how you're going to fuel them and how you're going to maintain them. Then you sit down and you work a plan up. And we did that. We were able to get a new facility built, and knowing we had to build one anyway, we built it CNG compliant. It is now, and you know, it is one of the things that we are proud of in the city. You can take people into our garage facility. We think it's state of the art. You open the doors and you can look out and you can see our vehicles at the fueling station over there. And it's the kind of thing that now it has become a source of pride for us. But again, you have to sit down and you have to work it as a system. You know, don't think I'm going to be able to go buy one truck and I'll solve all my problems. You've got to sit down and you've got to put together a plan. You know, one of the things I'm proudest of it in this city is we made a commitment when we flipped the switch to look into green fleet. We said, what do we have to do to make it work? And one of the things we had to do was make a commitment. You know, we don't look at a piece of equipment now without looking at alternate fuel methods of getting that piece of equipment. And that's a commitment, that it's an act of will of the people in charge. You have to make that commitment to do it. And when you do, work in the entire system, and you'll be surprised that you'll have a lot of benefits coming out of it. And a lot of those benefits aren't dollar and cents benefits. They're in the sense of the pride that you're going to be able to install in the people working for you.
Absolutely. And it really does come from the top to the bottom. Now, Dave, can you explain some of the uptime and reliability for the fleets at the Gary station?
Yes. So closest to Adrian and Bob's facilities is our Gary, Indiana station. We've got, you know, there's two senses of uptime. There's the uptime of the trucks, the fleet itself, and the uptime of the station. We have had really good success planning for success in that location. We have planned for making sure that we have mechanics at that facility who have received the, you know, I would classify it more as a supplemental training to the CNG. You know, so they are able to work on that. they are capable of, I mean, our trucks get worked very hard on these construction sites. So the mechanics have been through the highest of training to even work on the fuel systems themselves. And if a CNG cylinder doesn't pass an inspection, they can take care of that and change that right then and there. We have seen from a fleet uptime comparing our CNG fleet and Gary to other locations that, you know, we as much as we'd love to change the world overnight and have every vehicle heavy duty running on renewable natural gas, it's a process. So comparing that to some of the newer diesel locations that we have just a overwhelming amount of problems with the newer diesel trucks. Our trucks idle a tremendous amount of the day because the engine has to be on and that drum has to be turning. Otherwise the concrete gets hard and you end up building a sidewalk or a driveway inside of the truck. So that has to keep running and it's just idling. It's running the PTO. The issue there is the exhaust system cools all the way down and we have trucks going out that the regen light comes on and we got a perishable product in the drum, and this happens all the time. The driver makes the decision that I need to get out to the job. I got to get this load off. They get to the job, something gets delayed. That regen light starts blinking at them. Eventually, the truck just shuts itself off because it hasn't seen that regen in time. And now we've really got a problem. Now that driveway does happen inside that truck, and then we've got to chip out the whole thing. Somebody's got to go in there. So the reality we're in is the option for us of diesel versus CNG. It's kind of getting made for us to where CNG is again coming out as a proven winner because the troubles we're seeing with newer diesels is so problematic that the CNGs are shining once again. Even the old trucks, the 2012 trucks are outshining the new diesels. And then as far as the station, we designed that station for reliability. It was a unique design. That is one of our only single compressor stations, but we have partnerships with other publicly accessible CNG fuel stations in the area to where building in that redundancy wasn't as big of a priority on this project. So we were able to actually use the funds that we didn't spend building that station to build the next station out in South Bend, Indiana. So for us, we're trying to run the CNG program here at Ozinga as efficiently as we can. Just like Bob was just saying, I love your phrase about you have to sit down and make a plan. That is so true because it is different. And you got to plan for those differences and those changes from the mechanics to the shop, to the fuel, to the trucks. But what we have found is if you plan for success, you're successful.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things you're thinking about it with vehicles, we're a municipality. A lot of our CNG stuff is garbage trucks. Mm-hmm. Garbage trucks cover the whole city. Problem is they cover it 50 feet at a time. They go 50 feet, stop, start up, go 50 feet. That is on a diesel. That's not the most efficient way to use a diesel. So when you start talking about being able to convert a Packer truck to CNG, you're finding a spot that's, it's a sweet spot in terms of eliminating the amount of pollution they generate. You're finding a sweet spot in the reduction of strain on that piece of equipment. Diesel is not designed to run 50, 75 feet at a time. And, so we're finding that this is a much better fit for the application that cities are challenged to do, which is part of the reason that, we're looking to expand our fleets for Packer trucks. Mm-hmm. You have to fit what you're doing. Like, Dave said, delivering concrete, a lot of idling time, picking up garbage, a lot of idling time, you know, 50 feet, stop, idle, 50 feet, stop, idle.
Mhm.
You know, so CNG offers us the variability to develop an efficient operation with equipment that's designed to do the job better than what we've got.
Okay. Now, Adrian, you have the probably for any municipality, the refuse fleet is some of the largest vehicles, the burn the most diesel and the most used vehicles in their fleet. And within Lake Station, you have a compost collection truck that's filling up with landfill natural gas. How does that proximity to your municipality lead to success for your fleet?
Well, yeah, that's a good point you made, where one of the CNG trucks we got, rear loader, we are right now using that specifically only to pick up compost throughout the city. We do have our own compost facility here in Lake Station, and we're specifically using that for compost only, just to keep everything, you know, contamination free and deliver nice, you know, clean compost over to our facility, which makes things a lot easier for our guys over there at the compost yard who are managing everything and taking care of the compost over there. So the truck's been a big help. Our driver who's driving it, he's actually told me that it runs a lot smoother than the last diesel truck that he had before that he was using. And so far, I mean, no complaints from our guys at all. We're very excited to be involved in this Green Fleet program now, and just looking to expand little by little to our fleet. And let's see, I mean, you guys, South Shore Clean City has been a big help, and Ozinga also, where we are actually currently filling up over at the Ozinga facility over in Gary right now. It's very easy to use. It's a fast fill over there, and I mean, our guys get over there, and you know, they may spend about 5 to 8 minutes there in total, and then they're gone about 10 minutes. So it's been a big help, and we really appreciate everything.
Okay. We're getting close to that 1 hour mark, and we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I want to again thank our speakers for sharing your experiences and knowledge regarding the different CNG fleet applications. And if you'd like to connect with any of them, their contact information is available on the slide. Moving next, we have a couple of our next winter webinar series is a partnership with Wisconsin Clean Cities. This is going to be the medium and heavy duty electric operations webinar, and this is going to take place on Wednesday, January 13th at 1 p.m. Central. We also have our sustainable ports and goods movement webinar coming up on Wednesday, February 24th at 1 p.m. Central. Once again, please visit South Shore Clean Cities website for more information and register for the upcoming webinars. And thank you all again for joining us, and thank you again to our speakers for your participation. And if there are any questions later on for our speakers, please feel free to contact each one of us directly, and we will be happy to assist you. From our family to yours, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and thanks again. Have a great day.
Yes. Bye-bye. Have a great holiday.